everybody, and welcome back to another Scratch tutorial. I am Lina with Tech Tutorials. Today we're going to be making a game that combines Donkey Kong with Pokemon. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, stick around for that. And like always, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Leave your comments below so we know what you guys want to see and what you want to learn. Alright, let's get started. Here is our demo. So let's go ahead and start our demo. As you can see, I have a Pikachu. That took me forever to build because I am not an artist. And if you see that ball touches the Pikachu goes back to its original location. So we're going to have to be careful when the ball comes along. So let's go ahead and try to avoid that ball. Those balls are just keep coming. It's pokeballs. There we go. And that's what happens. And then the game just finishes. I didn't put it finished, but you guys can go ahead and integrate that into it. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to build this. Alright guys, so this is going to be a medium level difficulty. It might be easier for others of you that are more familiar with Scratch. It took you about 20 minutes and it took me longer because I had to make that Pikachu, but we're gonna kind of give you a little kind of cheat sheet where you guys can use the already existing sprites that I have. So I'll put that link in the bio below, in the description below, for you guys to use, or you guys can use your own. And these are the skills you'll be learning today. So we're gonna be using quite a lot of the skills that are in Scratch, and I hope you guys enjoy that. It'll take about 10 steps to build these. So let's go ahead and get started with step number 1. Step number 1, we're going to go ahead and add all our sprites that we need and set our canvas the way we want it. I figured get that out of the way so we know that everything is where we want it to be. Alright guys, so we're going to cheat a little. I am going to provide you guys with the link to have the actual sprites and stuff already set on your canvas, just because if you want to do the Pikachu, it's kind of takes a long time unless you have artistic skills and you're able to do all the amazing things on here through, or you can do somewhere else, right? You are welcome to use whatever sprite you guys want. It just took me forever to do this Pikachu, so I figure I'd give it to you guys so you guys can go ahead and use it. If you want, you can use this, or you are welcome to add your own sprites by clicking here and then choosing whatever you want as your character and whatever you want as your object that is being launched at your character, and then your enemy, whatever enemy you want on top. So just choose from the sprites here or create your own. Step number 2, we're going to add these to our backdrops, so our background, and this is the only code you have in your background, and it basically allows for us to start the game. Alright, so we're gonna go do the second step, which is go ahead and add the code that starts our game. We're going to use the flag, and then we're going to use the broadcast. And broadcast basically just calls these whatever code you put under that specific broadcast. So I'm going to call this a start broadcast. So this is going to be the start. Whenever I click that flag, it's going to go do that start. And that's all the code we're going to be adding to our stage. Step number 3, we're gonna give the ability of, for example, my Pikachu, as you guys see up here, or whatever sprite you choose as your player, to move left and right on that lines. Now step number 3, let's go ahead and do the code for our Pikachu, or at least the beginning code to be able to make our Pikachu go left and right. So when the flag is clicked, I want to leave the Pikachu at its location where it is. So I wanted to start right here. Let's go ahead and just place it where you want. It's the easiest way to figure out where you want it. And just place that Pikachu there. And then go to this motion and get the go to X. Get this one here. And then that will set, every time you click on the flag, it will set the original location here. Now we're gonna go ahead and change it to look right, because if you start the game and you play and the Pikachu is switched the other way, then it will start looking toward the left. So let's go ahead and switch our custom to look towards the right. And as you can see, I've named it Pikachu R or Pikachu L for right or left. And then we're gonna go ahead and add a forever loop on there. And we're going to be checking if the arrows are being checked. So let's go ahead and get an if loop. I like doing them outside so that then I can copy it later. Okay, so we're gonna check if key, where is key? Here we go. If left key is pressed, then we want to go ahead and show our Pikachu that is switch to custom Pikachu left. And then we want to go ahead and change the X by negative. And I'm going to do -6. You can play around with those numbers and see what fits best for whatever sprite you're doing. And just play around with it. It's the best way to figure out what works best for you. So now I duplicated it, and I'm going to do that for the right arrow. So I'm going to change everything to right. And this number has to be positive because we will be going in the positive direction for the right. Now we're going to put them inside the for loop. There we go. So let's go ahead and try it. Make sure our Pikachu goes left and right and it turns directions. Yep. It's turning directions and it's going left and right. And at this point, you shouldn't be able to go up and down the ladders. And that's okay. That will be something we're going to be working on. Let's just make sure we can go left and right. All right. Step number 4. We're going to go ahead and give the ability of our sprite to go up and down ladders. So I have 2 ladders, so we're going to be using 2 checks for the 2 ladders. So now for step number 4, this is where we give the ability of the Pikachu to go ahead and go up and down the ladders. So we're going to go ahead and write an if loop. We're going to be checking if our character is touching ladder 1, or ladder in this case, and if our character is touching ladder 2. So we're gonna do an or. So we're gonna check if it is either touching one or the other, because it cannot touch both at the same time since they're quite apart. We want to make sure that if it's touching either or, then we go ahead and put that in there. It's gonna be checking for if it's touching this ladder or the other ladder. Then we want it to go ahead and give it the ability of going up and down. So we're gonna go ahead and add an if in there. If, oh, let me put it here. I like doing that so that it's so much easier to duplicate when they're outside. We're gonna be touching the key. Key is gonna be set to press. If we're gonna press up arrow, then it's gonna change the Y to, where's that change Y by 2. And again, play around with those values and see what you guys like best. Let's see, and then this is gonna be -2, but it's gonna be down arrow. And then we're gonna put those in there, just pop them on there like that. And then we're going to put them right under the other ifs what we were doing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try it. Let's make sure that our character can go left and right. And now should be able to go up and down the ladders. Yep. And as you can see, it flies mid-air kind of thing. So we're going to be fixing that next. Step number 5, we're going to be checking to make sure that every time our sprite is not touching the ladder and is not touching the floors, then we want it to come back down to the floor to be able to always have it grounded at the floor. To be able to fix that, this is step number 5, we're going to go ahead and add the ability to check that if it's not touching any of like the red surfaces or the ladders, we want it to come back down here. So let's go ahead and scroll down, and I'm going to go ahead and add that check. This is going to be a very long check, so we're going to do quite a few ands. Okay, and And now we're gonna do nuts. So not. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the touching. So if it's not touching floor 1, just duplicate this. And it's not touching floor 2. And it's not touching floor 3. Again, if you guys, some of you guys have a better way of doing this, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I would totally love to check that out. And then we're also going to do another one if it's not touching the ladders. And if it's not touching the ladder, the next ladder. So if it's not touching any of these, we're going to put them all in ants because we need that. Okay, let's go get more ants. This guy and that guy. And then we're going to get this one. I was pulling the wrong one. Not that one. And not that one. And then our final ant. It's a big one, so gonna bear with me. And then not that. If it's none of those cases, and I keep pulling on the wrong thing. Okay, right here. If it's none of those cases, then we wanted to go ahead and change the y by -1. So first things first, we're gonna pull our if. If it's none of those cases, okay, get in there. Maybe just need to. This is the problem with big ones. It's kind of hard to get them in there, because then it starts doing weird things. Okay. I think I need to pull the if the other way. Yeah, give it more space so I can pull the green check the other way too, because I keep touching this thing. Okay. There we go. If it's none of those, then we're going to go ahead and change our y by -1. So it comes back down. Okay, now we're gonna pull that into right under the other if. So your code should start looking something like this, where you have those two ifs for the right and for the left and right, and then you have the ones for the check if there's touching the ladder, and then you have the if it's not touching any of those items, what do I do? Let's go ahead and check, make sure that it can go up, left, right. So always test little increments at a time. Don't just throw yourself at building everything, because then you will have no clue what went wrong. So for example, if I do these, it's still touching. See how it goes down? So up here, it looked like it was not touching, but the tail was still touching. So I still haven't figured out how to make it so if it's only touching a certain part of the sprite, it goes ahead and does that. But that's something I will look into. And so if you notice, the tail here is still touching. That's why it looks like it's floating. But if we go this way, it will fall down. So that's what this piece of code does. It just makes it come back down until it touches the floor. Step number 6, we're gonna make our sprite jump. So we're gonna be using the spacebar to have it jump, and hopefully we can make it jump over the balls. So that's one of the things we want to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and add the ability for our sprite to go ahead and jump. So we're gonna go ahead and create more space. Go scroll down here, build it down here. We're gonna get an if we touch this space bar. So if the key is space bar, I'm always touching the wrong thing. Okay, here it is. If space bar press, then go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and change custom number. Well, we're gonna do another if in there, because we want to be able to change the direction of where it's looking if we're pressing the spacebar and it's supposed to be facing left or right. So let me put that out here. That way I can go ahead and use it. We're gonna go to equal. We're gonna go customs, and at the bottom they have this thing that checks for the number. and you can do custom 1 or custom 2, and this is basically what the here on the is it 1 or is it 2? So this 1 or 2, and if you have more you can check for the best too. So that's what I'm checking for. If it's 1, we want to go ahead and change because we wanted to jump the right way. So if it's 1, it's going to be facing right, so we want the X and the Y to be going right. So we're going to go ahead and change our Y by 5. And we're going to go ahead and change our X by 10. And then we're going to duplicate that. Change to sprite 2. And we're just going to go ahead and change the X to -10 because we're going to jump to the negative side if it's facing to the left. Go ahead and do that. Put those inside that if. And then we're going to put that if inside here, right under that touching. So let's try that. So make sure we can do the other stuff that we were able to do before. And the reason you want to do things in increments is to make sure that if something goes wrong, you know exactly what piece of code was the one that caused for your sprite to not, or your code to not work correctly. So now if I do that, again, like I said, there's a bug where I need to figure out how the specific part of the character should only touch the floor. Like right now, it looks like it's floating because it's touching up there, but that's what the code does. It's still touching, the sprite is still touching, so it's gonna make it look like that. And it kind of gives the Pikachu like super abilities to jump. But if the code that we just added was to be able to go ahead and jump based on which arrow we're pressing. Okay. Step number 7, we're gonna go ahead and code the pokeball to give it the illusion that it keeps coming, just being thrown at Pikachu from every side. Now let's go ahead and add the pokeball code. So for the pokeball, we're going to go ahead and start with our flag. We wanna be able to hide at the beginning. So we're gonna go ahead and hide it. There we go. And then we're also gonna be checking for a broadcast for start. So when we start, this is one of the places we're gonna use the start. We want it to show. I'm gonna show it. And again, like I said, you guys wanna kind of figure out where you want it, where do you want it to start, kind of thing. And you can start it up here. Let's start it there for today. And you're gonna go ahead and put that because it's easier to just decide where you want to drag it to that location and go ahead and get this, because these values change based on where you put this sprite. So it's easier you just grab it and put it wherever you guys want. And then we're gonna go ahead and set the rotation to all directions. To all around, so we're gonna make it look like it's just rotating all the way. And we're gonna use our favorite loop, our forever loop. We're going to go ahead and put that X and Y. So we're gonna do the X is always gonna stay the same. It's just the Y that's gonna be random. So we're gonna leave it at -221 because that's what our X is here. It's always gonna start somewhere here, and that will be our X. And then we're gonna randomize the Y. Y. Okay, we're gonna pick a random number between, let's see, and to figure out the Y, where do you want it randomly, is you go down between here, you go check where you want it to pop up. Where is the first? So if you don't want it to pop down here, you don't use that value. But let's say you wanted to start be able to randomly appear between let's do here. between, and this is where you can check your value for y. I want it to appear randomly between negative 163 and the highest I want to go with is 133 and 133. So that would be my my position where it's randomly gonna be checking for y. So it's gonna be between here, here, and here, changing the y. Now what I wanted to do is to go ahead and show. I put a few shows in there just to make sure it showed, because it hides. When it hides, it's hard to get it back. So since I'm hiding it, I'm gonna be hiding it in a little bit. I need to be able to show it again. And we're going to be repeating until it touches the edge. So when it touches the edge, we're gonna go ahead and redo. There we go, edge. And we're gonna change the x by 10, and we're going to be rotating that to make it keep going on the screen. So the difference between these and the all rotate is that these makes the item rotate on a one spot, so it'll rotate like this forever and ever on the same spot. But you adding this logic here allows that ball to keep rotating, but that keep going down. So it just basically keeps moving it down on the screen. Because if you only leave these, it would only rotate in one spot and will never move that item. And then we're going to go ahead and hide it inside out here, our forever loop. So let's check that out, make sure that actually happens. There goes our ball. It's rotating and is moving. So that's what this piece of code does. It rotates and moves our ball. And it randomly chooses the y, as you can see. Alright, step number 8. We're going to go and code the code of what does our sprite do based on whether it's touching that pokeball. Let's go ahead and figure out now what is our character, in this case our Pikachu, supposed to do if it gets touched by that ball. So we're gonna go ahead and keep going down, scrolling down, because this piece of code is long. You can divide it into into smaller chunks and make broadcasts. If you guys are comfortable with broadcasts, I would suggest you do that and just call your broadcast in that forever loop. So that way you separate the functionality of right and left and the functionality of jumping and all this stuff. I try to keep it simple. It kind of looks messy, but I try to keep it simple just for everybody. So we're going to check if we're touching the ball. Then I wanted to play the sound of chirp, because that's the sound I was playing. You can change the sound too. It's up to you guys. And we wanted to go to location, to the original location. So we wanted to go back to the starting location where it started. Let's go ahead and try to copy that. That's why I don't like... It does weird things when we do that. Okay, so I'm just going to keep a note of where it's the starting location, because it always does weird things when I try to copy the topmost thing. We're going to go ahead and take it back to the original location, which is negative 236 and 106. Negative 236 and 106. I think it was negative 106. Yeah. Yep, okay. So we're going to take our character back to the original location, and we're going to change this custom to turn right. Because we don't know if we had it turning left when it got touched by the ball. There we go. So let's go ahead and see if we can be touched by that ball so we can see the functionality of it. There you go. And that's what that piece of code does. It basically just sends our character back to this original location if it gets touched by that ball. And you guys can do whatever you guys want there. You can make it, I don't know, disappear or anything like that. But this is, I kind of give you an idea on what to do if it's touched by that ball. Step number 9, we're going to go at our enemy up at the top, the jellyfish. He is our enemy. You guys can choose whatever enemy you want. I just chose the jellyfish. So Now we're gonna go ahead and code our enemy. Our enemy sprite. Let's go ahead and do when we received an enemy. So we only want this to happen when we receive the enemy sprite. So let's go ahead and add a broadcast. So these are, we're gonna be adding the two broadcasts, the start and the enemy. Enemy defeated. And I apologize if I am making typos. I'm not very good at spelling or things like that. So my apologies. So now we're gonna go ahead and if it's touching Pikachu, if it touches Pikachu, then we want our enemy to go ahead and change its looks. So we're gonna switch our looks to lightning. And I've added in it myself, I added the second where it turns into lightning just for the purpose of showing that. And we're gonna go ahead and make the popping sound. And then we're gonna go and stop all code here if it does that. We're also gonna be adding where do we want it originally to be at. And I kind of do this just for safety purposes in case it gets moved or something. We can always start at the same location. And we're gonna go ahead and switch to the jellyfish because we wanted to always start at the jellyfish when we start our game. And we wanted to go ahead and show since it's gonna disappear when it pops later. And when it pops. So we're gonna go and show. Alright, so let's try that now. Oh, he's in the wrong area. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. And this is why we test everything, make sure everything works. So let's go ahead and test. Our character goes sideways, it goes up, it goes down. If it's not touching anything, it goes to the original. So now let's go ahead and see what it does if it touches our little buddy here. Well, right now nothing because we're not calling that enemy defeat code. So we're going to be taking care of that next. Alright guys, so the final step, step number 10. We're going to go ahead and code the part where our sprite, our main character, reacts to the enemy. So here is the code. Let's go ahead and incorporate that into the program we already have. We're going to go back to our Pikachu or your player character. We're going to be adding an if we're touching that specific lightning, because that's what I called it here, sprite, if touching lightning, then we're going to go ahead and call the broadcast of the enemy, defeat enemy, enemy defeated. And we're going to go ahead and stop all. Stop all. We're going to go ahead and add that at the bottom. So now, if we try it, we're going to try left, right. Let's make sure we jump. Yay, we can jump. Let's make sure we can go down ladders. And it comes down. Let's make sure we can go up and down. And then let's see if it touches, the ball touches, we go back to original. And kind of to cheat, we're going to bring him up here and touch our enemy. And there you go. It popped our enemy and it's lightning and we're done. So that's it guys. That was our game. I know it's a little long, but I hope you guys learned quite a lot. And go ahead and take it, modify however you guys want. I will share the link to the sprites and it would only have the sprites. So don't worry, I'm not going to give you the code. You can follow the video to do the code. But go ahead and modify however you guys want. And just show me your creations. I would love to see them. And thank you so much for everybody who's been following us and being part of this journey. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.